Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India. Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste. In this session, we are going to discuss role of human resource function in maintaining work-life balance of the organizational members, and we will also discuss, which is practically the last topic of this course, on HR analytics. So, after this session, I hope that you will be able to examine the role of HRM in maintaining work-life balance of the organizational members, employees as well as managers. You should be able to recognize the importance of HR analytics in maintaining and monitoring and uplifting the HR function. Identification of the important analytical ratios, HR analytics point of view, that is also we are going to discuss, and I hope that you will be able to get a sense of how to choose the appropriate HR analytics ratio. You should be able to appreciate the HR analytics through few case examples which we are going to discuss, and recognize the factors affecting the future of work, because the factors affecting the future of work are also going to define the future of HRM function. So, here we move to the first topic of this session, that is work-life interface. Work-life balance is the outcome when this interface is maintained properly, but we all know that this interface, the interface between work and other aspects of life, are not very easy to maintain, easy to manage together, and that is why, so it is not easy to perfectly balance the work life as well as life other than work, and as a result of that imbalance takes place. So, we need to understand this interface of work and family better, so that we can understand how balance can be achieved and what HRM can do and what employees can do about it. If we look at the conflict, which is the result of imbalance between work life and life other than work, the conflict occurs of two types: work family conflict and family work conflict. Work family conflict, first word of this term suggests the origin of the conflict. So, origin of the work family conflict are traced to role conflict at work, role overload at work, role ambiguity at work, long hours or working hours in difficult times, odd hours, schedule inflexibility. These work domain related factors in many people cause the work as stressors. That leads to work life or work family conflict. Family work conflict occurs when there are challenges at family front. That means, when there is a challenge about age and number of children, family conflict, spouse employment status, time devoted to household, spouse support when it is not available. These kind of factors which are predominantly occur at family front result into our imbalance of family life and work life, and that those kind of conflicts are called family work conflict. We also need to recognize that work stressors affect differently in different people about creating work family conflict, and in the similar way family domain stressors create a different level of imbalance or conflict amongst different people. So, what are the causes which moderate, which are the things which moderate this relationship between stressors and conflict? For the work domain stressors, the moderators are work social support. If the working group is congenial, if working group is supportive, many of the work domain stressors do not result into so much intensity about work family conflict. Whereas, at the family front, the family or spouse or social support may be by the parents of the family or elders or any other kind of social support, that moderates the impact of family domain stressor, and in presence of this moderator, the support of the spouse or social structure result into reduced family work conflict. Individual situations, so this is about the work situation or family situation. Individual characteristics or individual disposition also affect the work family conflict and family work conflict in terms of manifesting their impact at individual level or organizational level. Work family conflict and family work conflict result into individual well-being or suffering of the individual well-being as well as organizational well-being. So, job satisfaction, life satisfaction, family satisfaction, these all are affected by prevalence of any of these two conflicts. So, if the conflicts are high, the individual well-being factors like job satisfaction and what are given in this slide, they reduce. If the conflicts are low, naturally the factors of this kind also become better. Same way it translates into, so the individual factors also translate at the organizational level, like organizational commitment, absenteeism, employee turnover. These are the organizational based or organizational level metrics, or what we also call these days analytics. These things also are affected by these conflicts. So, if the conflicts are higher, organization well-being also suffers. So, you will see diminishing commitment, increasing absenteeism or increasing employee turnover. When the work conflict is low, these factors also become better, means what are at their desirable state. Coping behavior and social support, that is one factor which moderates the relationship between work family conflict and individual and organizational well-being. So, there might be the conflicting situations, there might be a work family conflict, but if person is skilled or competent in coping that behavior, and of course, if the work social support is also available, that will result into prevention of the well-being. In the same way, if people have the right skill of coping behavior and they have the spousal and social support available, the impact of family work conflict also will be moderated and it will be lesser, it will have lesser impact, lesser adverse impact on individual and organizational well-being. This is a comprehensive model which captures a large part of the literature and research available in the work family interface field. This topic is becoming even more important in the post pandemic situations. In one of the research studies, a survey was conducted about the employees' preference after pandemic gets over, preference about their work life situations. Most employees want to work from home 3 days a week. This is the finding of McKinsey and Company's report. More than 25% of the people in the same report said that they would consider switching employers if their organization returned to fully on-site work. So, 1/4 of the people are not willing to switch to the fully on-site work as and when the organizations and offices open. Mental health has become a top priority for the employees, for the organizational members. They want to retain, maintain, enhance their mental well-being. World is facing double disruption scenario with, and at one hand automation, thanks to the robotics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, these are causing major disruption in the business models, and on other hand COVID-19 has a very immense role in disrupting many businesses, changing many business models, changing the shape and the size of the organizations. So, both of these factors are affecting the world of work and the features of organizations. In that scenario, work life balance, flexibility, mental health are found to be front of mind for employees as they look to their employers for certainty about future, and that is the key finding of this report. There are two predominant hypotheses, or you can say schools of thought, which affect the interpretation and examination of work life balance. One thought or one school of thought is based on scarcity hypothesis, role of conflict process. What this hypothesis says is that work life and family life are bound to have conflict. So, there are limited resources, particularly psychological resources available, time is also considered as resource, and employees have to divide time and their emotional resources to family and work separately. In that situation, conflicts are bound to arise, because both the domain demand different kind of behavior, different kind of qualities from the employees. The expansion hypothesis suggests that conflict is not necessary in order to understand the interface of work and family life. It says that we may not have unlimited psychological resources, but our resources are not very limited as well. So, we can expand the psychological resources, that means our ability to multitask, our ability to understand the demands of the different situations, our ability to switch roles from one situation to the next situation. So, we have that capability, and what actually happens is that our learnings, our takeaways at work help us to manage our family better, and similarly our learnings from family have positive impact in our work life as well. So, this is the expansion hypothesis, which says that people's role are not in conflict, but people's role get expanded in the two domains, and as a result there is a positive spillover of one domain over other domain, and eventually employee become better. So, these are the different ways of understanding the work life conflict. If we follow the expansion hypothesis, we naturally are looking at the positive aspect of the different domains and their positive impact on each other. Nonetheless, organizations have to follow some work family practices, and HR function is responsible largely to implement these practices. These terms, the work family practice, broadly includes formal practices like on-site child care, etc., as well as the informal practices like idiosyncratic flexible scheduling, uh, uh, open mentoring, or the gender based mentoring, and organizational cultural norms, which is about expectation to perform work while at home through communicative technology. So, formal practices, informal practices, and organizational culture, these three factors affect work family practice. There are a few examples of family friendly policies which help people to balance work life and family life: parental leave, flexible work arrangement, and employer supported children policies. These are the three major policy domains, or the groups of policy which affect mostly, to a greatest extent, the work family interface. Parent leave, we all know that it is about giving emergency child care leave, giving the leave for vacations of the kids, average hours per week can be also reduced. These are some of the policies which help in the parental role of the employees. Flexi time, wherein employee can choose his or her time slot to work. Job sharing, the same job can be shared by two or more people, which generally done by one person in the normal course or in the full time mode, that kind of arrangement. Telecommuting, working from home, what in the simple terms we say, these are the ways of ensuring and enhancing the flexible work arrangement, and that contributes very significantly to the family friendly policies. Employer supported children policy, that is about giving on site child care facilities. In Infosys, in the child care facility, they have also put up cameras. So, working mothers whose kids are in those crèches can also see their kids playing or what they are doing. They can also go to the crèche for some time for the breastfeeding or for the caring of their kids. So, these are some of the examples of employer supported children policy. Sometimes some organizations also give child care vouchers, that is a kind of redeemable at good crèches, and that cost is bear by the organization. So, these are some of the examples of employer supported children policies. HRM need to take a active role, and organizational leaders have to give attention to the work life balance related policies, because these policies have significant impact on organizational performance. In large number of studies which are compiled by these authors Chaudhary, Arora and Roy in very recent 2020 paper, multiple studies are conducted in the work life balance and its impact on organizational performance, and it is reported in this paper that work life balance is positively associated with the greater life and job satisfaction of the employee, decreased employee turnover, increased loyalty, decrease in the intention to quit, increased career opportunities for women employees, increased job performance, and increased organizational citizenship behavior, that what is the meaning of organizational citizenship behavior? Those who do not know, that simply means organization, the ability, the willingness and ability of employees to go beyond their immediate role in order to help the organization or help the co-workers. These all things are found to be favorably associated with the work life balancing policies. Why it happens? It happens because when people look at the support, they perceive organization to be supportive, and as a result they give additional effort in performing their job. They also attribute these positive things to the organization, and when there is a positive attribution of the good qualities to the organization, employee feel motivated and their performance naturally enhances, because their commitment also enhances. Job demand resource theory also suggests that we have limited resource, psychological or cognitive resources. We need to use the resources judiciously. Work life balance related policies help in using the personal resources, personal intrinsic resources, not financial resources, intrinsic resources more carefully, and that also preserve the psychological resources, that prevents the fatigue, that prevents the anxiety, and that results into better performance at work. So, these are the factors why work life balance is so important as an HR function, why organization must take care of this, or what HR function can do about it. The next topic of this session is HR analytics. We need to understand that all HR activities, whether it is recruitment, selection, training and development, performance management system, and so on and so forth, whatever all we have discussed in the last 19 sessions, in all the processes large number of data is generated. If there are mechanisms, if the data quality is good, if we know the interconnections of the different factors, and if we are able to connect the success factors with the appropriate data, we can get large number of insights, we can get many insights about HR function and about the business success. So, data is the raw and unorganized information that is keep developing, keep getting generated in all HR systems and processes. The HR data, which is about the employee attendance, employee performance, compensation, engagement, and so on and so forth, we can use those for the analysis. So, HR metrics is finding the key performance indicators, because these are the metrics that indicate the ingredient of the HR practices outcome. So, HR analytics is a evidence based approach for making better decisions on people side of the business. HR analytics consists of an array of tools and technologies ranging from simple reporting of HR metrics up to the predictive modeling. So, when HR data is properly collected and consciously used for some specific insight or insight about some specific process, we call this process HR analytics. There can be various types of data, and these can be broadly divided into the lagging indicators and leading indicators, descriptive HR metrics and prescriptive HR metrics. Descriptive HR metrics are those which are based on the past data, and prescriptive HR metrics are those which also takes into account of the future projections of the data. So, manpower planning related data, or recruitment related data, or training and development related data or performance management and productivity management related data, these all can be different types of data pertaining to human resources. They can be of non-financial in nature as well as financial in nature. HR expenses, that is the very first basic manpower planning metric or analytical ratio. What it says? It says about total cost involved for HR expenses for a particular fiscal year. What all is being spent on the HR processes. So, our HR department salary, the software package they might have purchased for the recruitment, or the expenses they might have incurred in taking help of the third party agencies or third parties for the training and development or for recruitment. These are all expenses counted, and that is the total cost involved for the HR. HR expenses per employee, we can look at the ratio of HR expenses and divide that by per employee of the organization, divided by the number of employees of the organization, and that will give us the HR expenses per employee. We calculate these data and then we also do the benchmarking with the companies within the industry as well as outside of the industry, and that gives us idea how we are doing it. Are the most successful companies having very high of these metrics, or they are operating at much lower level of those metrics? These are the starting points of reflection. Then next level of reflection is that okay, we might be spending more, we might be having a matrix which is suggesting that our expenses are more, but it is required because nature of job being done in our organization is of very different kind, etc. So, we look at the situations, but first benchmarking is done with the comparable business organizations, comparable organizations or institutions. That gives us fair idea how and how that data can be managed and how that can be maintained. There are so many metrics, I am not going to read all these are being described. The paper which is from where this list is drawn is also referred here, Pillai and Shivathanu's paper, both are the Pune based academicians, and they have collected various types of the HR ratios, and they have given the precise definition of these ratios, which help us to analyze the HR based data. So, they have given the recruitment related data, which is about non-financial like yield ratio, meaning efficiency of the each stage in the recruitment process, or number of employee who appeared for the interview and selected, recruitment channel resource effectiveness, combination of different resources, which combination is working best. Then there are recruitment related financial data, which is recruitment cost, cost per hire, cost per recruitment sources. All these are the data points which can give us the efficiency and effectiveness of the HR function. Training and development related data, that can also be of various type. You might remember we discussed Kirkpatrick model or ROI of the training and development function, training outsourcing cost, training cost per employee. All these data points are there, all these ratios are there, which can be calculated if company collects data of their HR system, HR process implementation on their employees, and that is the beginning of having a sound HR analytics. Next stage is analyzing that data. So, there is another set of data about performance management or productivity management, how the performance of the employees is showing up in the organizational data. Employee performance indicators like number of units produced, number of parcels delivered, if company, if it is a delivery company or a courier company, number of calls, if it is a per day or per unit of time, if the organization is call center, like that these performance and productivity management data are collected. Employer branding, that can also be assessed through number of followers on social media, employee engagement index, or number of applicant per role. If more number of people are applying for the job in my organization, I am supposed that organization is supposed to have a strong employer branding. You might recall the employer branding we discussed in the previous class. Like these, so many indicators are there which can be very useful and insightful to look at the efficiency and effectiveness of HR function. Employee relations and employee wellness, that can also be very important points of HR analytics. Then there are whole set of predictive HR metrics. So, predicting the number of manpower, we can look at the projected sales growth, we can look at the projected production growth, and based on that we can predict the number of manpower. Predicted talent turnover, how my industry is shaping up, who are the likely competitors, who can give equally challenging job with equally or with comparable salary or much more salary, where our people, our organizational members would like to join. All this can be looked at when organization is calculating the predicted talent turnover. Similarly, financial metrics are there, which is about predicted manpower cost, predicted cost per hire, estimated employer productivity, predicted employee performance, so on and so forth. List you can see is almost limitless. We can have multiple types, and we can apart from this exhaustive list, we can still find the indicators in some organization is specific to its need, is specific to its functioning. So, knowing this is very important, but that is only the first step to use HR analytics in the right sense. After knowing different types of data available or different types of data to be collected, and how the combination of the data or association of certain data points will give us insight, will give us the ratio which can be very indicative of organizational, group, department or individual performance. When all this is understood, the next step is which one we would like to follow. There is no point in doing all the types of analysis possible without knowing how we are going to use that analysis. So, I will explain 3 case examples to convey this point, that how it is more important to pick up the best ratio, best analytical ratio, and if we choose the appropriate analytical ratio, we get business insight, we get HR process related insight that has direct impact on our revenue or profitability. So, this is one example given by Rasmussen and Ulrich in their paper. This example is of the Maersk Drilling. This is an offshore drilling company. The challenge this company faced was filling the lead specialist positions due to industry talent shortage and growth. So, for this particular position, they were not getting enough talent. They experimented. They introduced a strategic initiative to develop the technical talent for the senior specialist target positions. So, they identified few people, and they also acquired more talented people, supposedly more talented people from different campuses. They also introduced the programs specifically designed to enhance the technical talent in their organization, and when they applied some simple heuristics, some simple data analysis to look at who are the people doing best in the years, in the range of 6 or 7 years, what they found was that company graduate program. So, they had a graduate program wherein they used to recruit fresh engineers out of the campus. They would take them through a thorough training program, and they were also having engineers who might have started as a diploma engineer, and they have grown in the rank and they have got the promotion. What they found was that graduate engineers coming through the graduate program for a specialist, they were able to get promotion. Their performance was much better in comparison to those who were there with the organization for long years, and because of their tenure they have got the promotion and got the specialist position. So, it was very clear they reduce the internal promotion pipeline and increase the graduate program engineers. They inducted more and more graduate program engineers, and that helped them to get the required talent in due course. So, this simple HR analytics, who get the promotion of the specialist earlier, and they found that people going through the graduate program of the company, they get the promotion much earlier in comparison to their peers. So, naturally they they put an effort in strengthening the graduate engineering program. Another example comes from a store, and this example is given in the Competing on Talent Analytics. That is a very famous, very successful book written by Davenport and two of his colleagues. It describes that some organization can precisely identify the value of 0.1% increase in engagement among employee in a particular store. So, they take the example of Best Buy. This is the chain of the retail stores. They looked at the employee engagement results, and what was found was very striking and appealing, because even the smaller increase in the employee engagement score was associated with increasing income per store, and even the 0.1% increase apparently had significant impact on the income per store. So, stores having high engagement scores were much higher in terms of their earning their operating income. So, this was very insightful data, and based on this, company decided to invest more effort and more focused effort in enhancing employee engagement. So, there is another example where a very successful company, by looking at various attributes and doing the systematic calculation based on those attributes over the period, able to reduce the attrition very significantly. So, this is an example of this company where they identified different attributes which were able to affect the turnover of the employees. They call it flight risk. Flight risk means risk of a good performing or average performing employee leaving the organization. That is not a desirable undesirable turnover, that is undesirable employee turnover. And they found that there are multiple factors which affect this: so, team size, team structure, supervisors performance, length of commute, many factors. So, total 200 attributes were identified. And they had data on all those 200 attributes. When the model was run, they could very precisely identify who was at risk of leaving the organization. Before that, they had to do a lot of background work as well, because they need to identify what are the factors positively affecting the or enhancing the employee turnover, or what are the factors which make people stay back in the organization. So, for example, if employees are getting promotion, that generally help them to stay back in the organization. if employee's office is shifted away from the hometown or away from the town he is currently residing, or away from the place where he is currently residing, there is a likelihood that employee may look for switching another organization. So, they looked at these positive and negative factors connected to different attributes, they put those attributes, they gave numbers to those attributes, ran that model, and they found that they could very precisely identify the people which are high on the flight risk. And this was rolled out. The company reports that 2-3% over the attrition rate came down very significantly, and when the attrition rate comes down of any organization, it result into major cost saving, because new recruitment is a very high cost. So, you have the cost of recruitment itself, multiple interviews and engaging external agencies for the recruitment and their induction, and for initial few months employee is not very productive. So, all these factors if counted, there is a huge cost involved in new recruitment. They were able to reduce the employee turnover, that resulted into lowering of the requirement for the new recruitment, and as a result companies saved in a year about 8 crore, 80 lakh dollars to a crore dollar. More number of examples are available on this website. You can check out this website aihr.com and its page about HR analytics. You can get a lot of interesting case examples. Question arises how we decide and how we use HR analytics for the strategic and operational benefit of the organization. Again, we go back to the paper by Rasmussen and Ulrich. In that paper they give a simple schema, 3-step process which can help us to use analytics in more effective way. What they suggest is, first identify the context, what is my industry context and what is my general marketing context, how is my industrial environment, how is my general environment. Looking at that context, what is the setting in which we are working, that results into our insight about the real challenges in our performance, in the organizational performance. Arising from the context comes understanding about the stakeholders. Who are my stakeholders? Customers, employees, suppliers, regulators, natural environment, educational institutions, who all are my stakeholders, and based on that strategies are identified, how we are going to deliver unique values to these stakeholders. Once we know the answer of these 3 questions, then the next set of questions are related to HR analytics, because they indicate what choices do we need to make, or what can we discover and test, and what data can we collect and analyze, because different stakeholders can be managed, or for different stakeholders different types of data will be relevant. For employees, engagement data can be relevant, for the regulators maybe environment related data might be relevant, or tax related data might be relevant. So, after identifying the context, stakeholder and strategies, we need to identify what will be my uniqueness of the value delivery, and in order to deliver that value, what are the indicators I should check or I should follow about different stakeholders, and whatever we do with whichever stakeholder, it can be traced back to affecting in some way or other to our HR function. So, based on this understanding, we need to identify the appropriate HR analytics, and I shared with you an exhaustive list of the different HR analytics ratio, different type of metrics available. Out of those, we can choose the most appropriate ones based on these three questions, based on these three aspects and these 4 questions. We are ending this course as of now with this 20th lecture. So, it is pertinent to reflect at this juncture what is the future lies in terms of the employees' skills required, organizational capabilities required, and that in turn how it is going to impact the HR function. So, based on some of the research conducted and published, we can say that disruptions are coming from 3 broad sets in the current times. First is COVID, second is related to e-commerce and digital transaction, and third is about automation and artificial intelligence. COVID has brought major disruption. It accelerated the shift to remote work and virtual meetings. Even after pandemic, people would like to continue with large number of or much higher proportion of the virtual meetings, or they will prefer remote working at least few days in a week. So, that is a major trend we are going to see in the future. Second big group of trend is related to e-commerce and other digital transactions. E-commerce, we all have seen, has increased multifold, its presence has increased multifold after and during COVID. That has made people familiar to, and that has made people sometime habitual to e-commerce and digital transactions. So, these trends continue to increase, and that these are going to continue redefining how we do things, how we purchase things, how we consume things. Third major trend is caused due to technological factors related to automation and AI. So, companies are using technology to adapt new realities and planning to implement more technologies in future. So, they are reducing the human interventions, many of the processes are getting automated, and these factors are again redefining not only work, but they are redefining the organizations, they are redefining the way organizations interact with employees and consumers. So, based on these 3 things, 3 skill sets can be identified, which are going to be the key skill sets to be successful in the future of work. These skill sets are related to lifelong learning aspirations. Technologies keep changing, globalization and the international trade is regularly fast redefining the business landscape. In this context, we need to be ready to learn new things regularly and proactively. Growth mindset is also a very important skill in this set. Growth mindset is looking at even our failures as opportunity for learning. We need to be comfortable with the change, because change is the only thing inevitable. Creativity, critical thinking and social intelligence, these are another set of the skills of the future, because these are going to redefine the success of individual at workplace and success of organization in the marketplace. More and more work is going to happen with the help of technology. Naturally, the impact of software, the presence of software is going to only increase in the coming time. So, people have to have the skills on the software design, big data analytics, their familiarity with these things and their comfort in using these things. These are identified as third set of skills of future. In light of these trends and these skill sets required in the future workforce, HR function also need to change. HR also need to be more tech savvy, they need to identify ways of facilitating the flexible working, virtual teams, they need to understand how business is going to change thanks to technology and thanks to human genuity. Based on these things, what can make HR successful is defined by 6 questions as identified in this podcast of the McKinsey Global Institute. First question is, how can you reconfigure the workforce and workplace to increase agility, raise productivity and empower workers while maintaining the culture. Workforce has to be more agile, they have to be more productive and still employees have to be more empowered. The direct control, autocratic management are becoming more and more things of past. How to maintain the balance in these two things? That is the first question HR need to answer to remain effective in the organization in future. Second question is, are you positioned to leverage technologies and take advantage of long term trends accelerated by them? Are we just followers or chaser? Are we just chasing the technology, or we are proactively using the technology for the benefit of business, for the benefit of customers and for the benefit of employees? This proactive use of technology and if required proactive development of technology, choosing the appropriate technology, these are the second set, this is the second set of question. Answer to this question will define the success of the HR in future. Third question is, what are we doing to close the skill gaps? We discussed just now that major learning is required, fast learning is required for the individuals as well as for the organizations. HR has to constantly observe how they can close their skill gaps. Are you clearly and transparently communicating your plans and supporting workers in making transitions? In the major changes happening all around, people want to make sense of their place in work and in organization. Also they want to sense their place in the larger knowledge economy, in larger industry. In that context, HR has to regularly, continuously communicate about the organization, about the expectation of the employees, and that is a very important factor and that is going to define the effectiveness of HR in future. Third is, are you supporting their lifelong learning? Are you is HR able to help employees to enhance their competence regularly and build their competence not only for the job in hand, but for the future jobs as well. And if they are able to do it continuously and regularly, that is the fifth question about HR and its success factor in future. Last, what this podcast suggests is, are you leveraging ecosystem partners to increase the effectiveness of these efforts? We need not to look at the suppliers or the customers as the competitors of the organization. They need to be partnered with the organization. Organizations do not exist in isolation. They are always there as part of a social system, of an economic system, of an industrial system. How they can meaningfully and productively build relationship with other stakeholders, with other organizations, even with their competitors, is going to define the success of organization in future, and success of HR in future will be defined by its ability to help organization to build this ecosystem, to build these productive, long lasting association with different stakeholders, including the competitors, to be successful in the market, to deliver value to the customers as well as to the social and natural environment.